Every single morning, millions of Americans over 60 sit down to what they believe is one of the healthiest breakfasts possible. Eggs. Simple, protein-packed, heart-friendly eggs. But here's the truth nobody is telling you. For some people, that breakfast is quietly hardening their arteries and straining their kidneys at the same time. Not because of the eggs, because of what they are eating with the eggs. 3 specific food combinations that your doctor has almost certainly never warned you about. And if you are over 60, this matters more than you know, because the damage compounds faster with every passing year. Stay with me until the end, because the #1 combination on this list is something that sits on nearly every American breakfast table every single morning. One large government-funded study found that regular consumption of this specific pairing was associated with a 38% higher rate of arterial calcification in adults over 65. 38%. And yet nobody talks about it. I am Dr. Jessica Parker, a physician specialized in senior health with over 15 years of dedicated clinical experience. I have worked with thousands of men and women over 60 who were doing everything right, eating well, exercising, taking their vitamins, and still watching their cholesterol climb, their kidney function decline, their blood pressure refuse to cooperate. And time and again, when we dug into the details of their daily habits, the answer came back to these combinations. What I am about to share goes against what most breakfast advice will tell you. But I have seen it with my own eyes, patient after patient, and I refuse to stay silent any longer. As a woman who has dedicated her career to helping seniors live healthier, longer lives, I feel a deep responsibility to speak openly about these hidden risks. I have sat with so many wonderful patients, mothers, grandmothers, fathers, and grandfathers, who truly believed they were making the healthiest choices every morning, only to discover later that certain pairings were quietly working against their bodies. This is not about blame. This is about gentle awareness and empowerment. If this information already seems valuable, hit that like button right now. It helps this reach other seniors who need to hear it. Let us start with why this matters so much after 60. Here is what is happening inside your body right now. After the age of 60, your kidneys lose approximately 30 to 40% of their peak filtering efficiency. That is not a disease. That is normal aging. But it means that when you consume combinations of foods that produce excess nitrogen waste, excess phosphorus, or compounds that oxidize LDL cholesterol, your body simply cannot clear them the way it did at 40. The damage accumulates. Your arteries, which have also lost some of their youthful elasticity, are less capable of flushing out inflammatory compounds, and certain food pairings create a biochemical environment inside your body that is genuinely dangerous at this stage of life. I see this every single day in my practice. The body after 60 is wiser in so many ways, but it also asks us to be more thoughtful about how we nourish it. Even though each food on its own might be perfectly fine, eggs themselves are nutritional powerhouses. The protein is nearly perfect in its amino acid profile. The yolk contains choline, lutein, and zeaxanthin. A 2021 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that moderate egg consumption, meaning 1 to 2 eggs per day, was not associated with increased cardiovascular risk in healthy older adults. Eggs are not the villain here. The combinations are. Here is what truly concerns me most about this. Because eggs are considered healthy, people pair them with other foods they consider healthy, and nobody questions the combination. That is exactly where the danger hides. I have witnessed this pattern so many times that it breaks my heart. Before we continue, I am curious. How old are you? In your 60s, 70s, maybe beyond? If you eat eggs for breakfast at least 3 times a week, type eggs in the comments below. Let us see how many of us share this habit. Your answers always touch me and help build this caring community. Now let us get into the list. We are going from the least severe combination to the most dangerous one sitting on your breakfast table right now. The third combination, eggs and processed cheese. I want to be precise here because this is not about all cheese. A thin slice of natural aged cheddar or a small amount of fresh goat cheese is a very different thing from the processed cheese slices that come individually wrapped in plastic, the kind that melts perfectly on a breakfast sandwich or gets folded into scrambled eggs. There is a reason it melts so perfectly. It has been engineered to do so. And that engineering involves phosphate additives that your kidneys were never designed to handle in large quantities. Here's the mechanism in simple, caring terms. Eggs are already a moderate source of dietary phosphorus. One large egg contains approximately 95 milligrams of phosphorus. That is fine on its own. Your kidneys manage that easily, but processed cheese uses phosphate salts as emulsifying agents, and these inorganic phosphates are absorbed at a dramatically higher rate than the naturally occurring phosphorus in whole foods. We are talking about absorption rates of up to 90% for inorganic phosphates, compared to roughly 40 to 60% for organic phosphorus in natural foods. When you pair eggs with processed cheese slices, you are delivering a concentrated phosphate load to kidneys that after 60 are already working at reduced capacity. Research published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that high dietary phosphate intake from processed food sources was independently associated with faster kidney function decline in older adults, even in those without pre-existing kidney disease. And here is the part that connects to your arteries. Elevated phosphate levels in the blood trigger a process called vascular calcification. Your arteries respond to excess phosphate by depositing calcium into their walls. They literally begin to harden from the inside. A 2020 study in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults over 65 who regularly consumed processed cheese more than 4 times per week had measurably stiffer arterial walls compared to those who consumed natural, unprocessed cheeses independent of total fat or calorie intake. Now, here is something most people miss. The words on the label are the giveaway. If you see sodium phosphate, disodium phosphate, or phosphoric acid in the ingredients of your cheese product, put it back on the shelf. Natural cheeses will simply list milk, cultures, salt, and enzymes. That is your benchmark. I remember Patricia, a 71-year-old retired schoolteacher from Atlanta. She came to my office frustrated and genuinely confused. Her diet was, by most measures, excellent. She had cut red meat. She was eating eggs every morning with what she called her healthy, low-fat cheese. She was walking 30 minutes a day. And yet, her nephrologist had flagged a concerning downward trend in her kidney function over 3 consecutive annual checkups. We went through her diet together in detail. The low-fat, processed cheese slices she was eating every single morning contained 3 different phosphate additives. She had no idea. We made one change. We replaced the processed cheese with a small amount of fresh ricotta or natural feta. That was it. Nothing else changed. 3 months later, her next blood panel showed that her estimated glomerular filtration rate, the key measure of kidney function, had stabilized. Her nephrologist noted the improvement and asked what she had done differently. She told me, "Doctor, I had no idea that something marketed as healthy could do that. I feel like I wasted years." This was not irreversible damage. This was her body finally getting what it needed, the absence of something harmful. And you can make the same change starting tomorrow morning. This is preventable. This is reversible. I share Patricia's story with such care because I want every woman and man listening to understand that small, thoughtful changes really do matter. Your body is always trying to heal and protect you when you give it the right support. Now, let us move to the second combination. And this one is going to surprise you because it involves a food that is almost universally praised as healthy. The second combination, eggs, and high-sodium cured meats, specifically bacon, sausage, and deli ham. Now, before you turn this off, hear me out because the problem here is not simply sodium. It is something more specific and more dangerous than that. It is the interaction between the oxidized cholesterol found in cured and processed meats and the dietary cholesterol in egg yolks. Let me explain this gently and clearly. Dietary cholesterol in fresh eggs is not the villain. It was once made out to be. When you eat a freshly cooked egg, the cholesterol in the yolk is mostly unoxidized. Your liver is smart enough to regulate cholesterol synthesis in response to dietary intake in most healthy people. That is why decades of research have largely rehabilitated the egg's reputation. But here is where it gets complicated. Cured meats, particularly bacon and processed breakfast sausage, contain something called oxysterols. These are cholesterol molecules that have already been oxidized through the curing, smoking, and high-heat processing they undergo during manufacturing. Oxysterols are dramatically more dangerous to your arteries than regular dietary cholesterol. A 2019 study published in Frontiers in Physiology found that oxysterols are up to 5 times more potent at inducing arterial inflammation and promoting foam cell formation in arterial walls than non-oxidized cholesterol. Now here is the dangerous pairing. When you eat cured meats containing oxysterols alongside eggs, the high-fat environment of the meal actually increases the absorption and uptake of those oxysterols. The fat in the egg yolk and in the cured meat creates an environment in your gut that favors the absorption of oxidized lipids. You are essentially using the egg to deliver the oxysterols more efficiently into your bloodstream. And after 60, your antioxidant defenses are weaker. Your body produces significantly less glutathione, one of its primary internal antioxidants. A 2022 paper in the journal Antioxidants noted that glutathione levels decline by approximately 30 to 40% between the ages of 40 and 70. That means the oxidative damage from oxysterols hits harder and lasts longer in an older body. But there is another layer to this. Cured meats are extraordinarily high in sodium. A typical 2-slice serving of bacon contains around 380 milligrams of sodium. 2 breakfast sausage links can add another 400. 2 eggs add another 200 milligrams. That breakfast combination can easily deliver 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium before you have even had your coffee. For an older adult, this is significant. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day for most adults and 1,500 milligrams for those with elevated blood pressure or kidney concerns. A single bacon and eggs breakfast consumes nearly half that budget in one sitting. Research from the Journal of Applied Physiology found that in adults over 60, even a single high-sodium meal can temporarily impair endothelial function, meaning the ability of your arterial walls to dilate and contract properly for up to 6 hours afterward. 6 hours. If you eat that breakfast every morning, your arteries are spending a significant portion of each day in a state of reduced function. The practical guidance here is not complicated. It is not about eliminating eggs. It is about what you pair them with. Fresh turkey, avocado, sautéed spinach, roasted tomatoes. These are partners that enhance the egg's benefits rather than work against them. If you love the savory taste of breakfast meats, look for uncured options without nitrates with lower sodium content and use them as an occasional pleasure rather than a daily habit. If you believe this kind of combination could be affecting your heart health, type yes in the comments right now. If you are skeptical, type 0. Your response helps other viewers realize they are not alone. And before we get to the most dangerous combination of all, if you are finding this valuable, I want to ask you for 2 simple things. First, subscribe to this channel. My mission is to bring you clear, honest health information designed specifically for adults over 60. Second, share this video with someone you care about, a parent, a sibling, a friend who eats breakfast every morning without knowing any of this. A simple click can genuinely start a conversation that changes their health trajectory. Now, the first combination, the most dangerous one, the one sitting on most American breakfast tables right this minute. The first combination, eggs and refined carbohydrates, specifically white toast, white flour biscuits, pancakes made with refined flour, or sugary breakfast cereals eaten alongside eggs. I know this feels like the most innocent combination on the list. It is what diners have served since the 1950s. 2 eggs, toast, hash browns, the classic American breakfast. But the science of what this pairing does inside a senior's body is genuinely alarming, and it operates through a mechanism that almost nobody discusses. Here is what is happening. Eggs are high in dietary cholesterol and saturated fat. We have established that fresh, unoxidized dietary cholesterol from eggs is not inherently dangerous in a healthy metabolic environment. The key phrase there is healthy metabolic environment. But here is what refined carbohydrates do. When you eat white toast or pancakes or sugary cereal alongside your eggs, you trigger a rapid and significant insulin spike. Your blood glucose rises sharply. Your pancreas floods your bloodstream with insulin to bring it down. And for the next 2 to 4 hours, your body is in a state of post-meal glycemic stress. In that glycemic stress environment, something specific and dangerous happens to the cholesterol from your eggs. Elevated blood glucose causes a process called glycation, where glucose molecules bind to LDL cholesterol particles and to the walls of your blood vessels. Glycated LDL is dramatically more likely to be taken up by arterial wall cells and converted into the plaques that lead to atherosclerosis. A study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that glycated LDL was approximately 2.4 times more atherogenic, meaning more likely to cause arterial plaque, than normal LDL cholesterol. In other words, the refined carbohydrates are not just harmful on their own, they are transforming the cholesterol from your eggs into a more dangerous form. You are taking a food that is broadly safe and turning it into an arterial threat simply by what you put on the plate next to it. And after 60, this process is accelerated for a specific reason. Insulin sensitivity declines with age. Research from the journal Diabetes Care found that glucose tolerance decreases by roughly 10% per decade after the age of 50. That means the insulin spike from refined carbohydrates hits harder, lasts longer, and creates a more prolonged glycemic stress window in a 60 or 70-year-old than in a younger person. The glycation window is wider. The arterial exposure is greater. There is also a direct kidney connection here. Chronic post-meal glucose spikes are one of the primary drivers of glomerular hypertension, the subtle pressure damage inside the kidney's filtering units that over years leads to chronic kidney disease. We used to think this was only a concern for diabetics. We now know it occurs on a spectrum, and that frequent high glycemic meals in older, non-diabetic adults can cause measurable kidney function decline over time. A 2021 paper in the Clinical Kidney Journal found that non-diabetic adults over 60 with frequent post-meal glucose spikes, defined as glucose above 140 milligrams per deciliter 2 hours after eating, had significantly higher rates of kidney function decline over a 5-year follow-up period than those with blunted post-meal responses. Here is something most people do not realize. The glycemic impact of white bread is actually higher than that of pure table sugar. White bread has a glycemic index of approximately 73 to 75. Table sugar sits around 65. That 2-egg breakfast with 2 slices of white toast is delivering a greater blood sugar spike than 2 eggs and a spoonful of sugar would. The difference is that the bread has been normalized. It feels like food. It feels like breakfast. So nobody questions it. I remember Eleanor, a 78-year-old retired engineer from Chicago. She came to my office for what she thought was a routine follow-up. Her numbers had been gradually moving in the wrong direction for years. Blood pressure creeping up, kidney function slowly declining, cholesterol becoming harder to manage despite a statin. She was not diabetic. She was not obese. She walked her dog every morning. She ate what she genuinely believed was a healthy breakfast every single day. 2 eggs, 2 slices of whole wheat toast, orange juice. I want to flag something here because many people believe whole wheat toast is substantially different from white toast in terms of glycemic impact. Commercial whole wheat sandwich bread, the soft, fluffy kind, typically has a glycemic index of 69 to 72, only marginally lower than white bread. It is not the solution people believe it to be. And orange juice, which Eleanor drank every morning believing it was healthy, is essentially liquid sugar with an extremely high glycemic index, stripped of the fiber that would otherwise slow its absorption. Eleanor was starting every single morning by converting the cholesterol from her eggs into a glycated, arterially aggressive form, and her body had been absorbing that damage for years. I suggested a protocol. Replace the toast with half an avocado or a handful of mixed berries. Replace the orange juice with water with lemon or a small amount of diluted apple cider vinegar. Keep the eggs, just change the companions. 4 weeks later, Eleanor came back. Her fasting glucose had dropped 11 points. Her blood pressure had come down by 8 millimeters of mercury. She told me, "Doctor, I cannot believe a change that simple made that much difference. I thought I was already eating well." She was. She just had one specific combination working against her every single morning. And that one combination was undoing much of the benefit from everything else she was doing. You are not broken. Your information is broken. And now you have better information. Now, let me give you exactly what to do with all of this, because information without action is just frustration. Here is your practical action plan starting tomorrow morning. First, the simple replacement guide. Instead of processed cheese slices with your eggs, use fresh, natural cheese in small amounts. Look for ricotta, feta, fresh mozzarella, or a small amount of aged, natural cheddar. Check the ingredient label. If you see any phosphate additives, choose something else. Instead of bacon, sausage, or deli meats alongside your eggs, pair your eggs with plant-based additions. Half an avocado provides healthy fat without oxysterols. Sautéed spinach or kale adds magnesium and potassium that actively support arterial health. Roasted tomatoes or sliced fresh tomatoes provide lycopene, which studies have associated with reduced arterial stiffness. If you want a protein alongside your eggs, fresh turkey breast with no additives or wild-caught smoked salmon in small amounts are substantially better options. Instead of white toast, white biscuits, pancakes, or orange juice alongside your eggs, choose options that will not spike your glucose. Half an avocado on its own. Mixed berries, which have a glycemic index of 20 to 40 and are rich in anthocyanins that actually improve arterial flexibility. A small handful of walnuts, a slice of dense sourdough bread made from whole fermented grains, which has a substantially lower glycemic impact than commercial wheat bread due to the fermentation process, water, herbal tea, or black coffee rather than juice. Do not make the mistake of thinking you need to change everything at once. Start with the one swap that feels most manageable. If you eat processed cheese with your eggs every day, start there. One change, 1 week. Notice how you feel within 3 days of eliminating the high glycemic companions from your egg breakfast. Most people notice that their energy is more stable through the morning. The post-meal slump that many seniors attribute to aging is in many cases a direct consequence of the glycemic crash that follows a high-carbohydrate breakfast. When you stabilize that, your energy stabilizes with it. Within 2 weeks, if you also address the cured meat pairing, many people notice improvements in morning blood pressure readings. The reduction in overnight sodium load gives your arterial system time to fully relax. Within a month, the combination of reduced phosphate load, reduced oxysterol exposure, and reduced daily glycemic stress begins to show up in measurable ways. Your next blood panel may surprise you and your kidneys. Those silent workers you rarely think about until something goes wrong will be working under less strain every single day. A common mistake to avoid: do not assume that because something is labeled low-fat, multigrain, natural, or heart-healthy, it is safe to pair with eggs. Food marketing is designed to make you feel confident about choices that may not be optimal. Read ingredients. Understand glycemic impact. Question the combinations, not just the individual foods. A second common mistake: do not overcorrect by eliminating eggs entirely. The research is clear. Moderate egg consumption is beneficial for most older adults. The goal is not to fear eggs. The goal is to honor them by pairing them wisely. And a third mistake: do not rely on cooking method alone to fix a bad combination. Yes, poached eggs are somewhat better than fried eggs cooked in low-quality oil, but a perfectly poached egg eaten with processed cheese and white toast is still a problematic breakfast. The combination matters more than the cooking method. So, let us bring it all together. We have covered 3 combinations that can silently work against your health every time you sit down to what you believe is a nutritious breakfast. The third combination, eggs with processed cheese, delivers an inorganic phosphate overload that strains aging kidneys and accelerates arterial calcification. The second combination, eggs with cured and processed meats, floods your body with oxysterols in a high-fat absorption environment while simultaneously compromising arterial function through sodium load. And the first combination, the most widespread and most dangerous, eggs with refined carbohydrates, converts the cholesterol in your eggs into a glycated form that is 2 to 3 times more likely to build arterial plaque, while also contributing to the gradual kidney function decline that affects millions of older adults who have no idea why their numbers keep moving in the wrong direction. Each of these combinations operates quietly. There is no immediate warning, no acute symptom, just a slow accumulation of metabolic damage that compounds year over year until it becomes something your doctor is forced to address with medication. My message is not to frighten you. My message is empowerment, because every single one of these combinations is completely avoidable. The eggs stay, the plate changes. Here is my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, commit to pairing your eggs only with foods that support their benefits rather than undermine them. 30 days. Track how you feel in the morning. Notice your energy. Pay attention to your blood pressure. If you monitor it at home, your arteries will notice. Your kidneys will notice. Your energy will notice. And then come back and tell me what you found. Eleanor from Chicago is now 2 years into her new breakfast habit. Her kidney function has been stable for 6 consecutive checkups. Her cardiologist reduced her statin dose for the first time in a decade. She told me at her last visit, "Doctor, I keep thinking about how many years I spent doing this wrong while believing I was doing everything right. I just want other people to know." Eleanor wanted me to share this, and now I have. If this video helped you, smash that like button. Subscribe so you will not miss the practical health information we share every week for adults over 60. And share this with someone who eats eggs for breakfast. You might just change the direction of their health without them ever having to set foot in a doctor's office. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 combinations were you making without realizing it? Share your answer in the comments below. I read every single one, and your story might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. Because remember, aging does not take away your body's ability to recover. It simply reminds you to care for it the right way.